basically I put a video up using the Wolf Tone Machine, and this is from Retro Man. It was built great. I love this pedal. It's really roadworthy, consistent, cool little feature with the on-off switch if you're using a battery. And it is the Fox Tone Machine, or I joke around, maybe other people may too, but I definitely lovingly call it the Fripp machine, the Fripp Tone Machine. And this is what I would bring on stage or for tour to basically to recreate the sound that was recorded when we recorded a song called Pretty Pain. And the difference is, which this is a great sounding pedal, by no means is there anything wrong with this, but what I realized when I switched to capturing the real one. We were traveling and somewhere in the middle of the country, we went to this small guitar shop or music store, and they had a case of used things, and Jimmy might have found a really cool microphone there, and they had this, and I kind of freaked. And it's the Fox. So the Fox had their tone machine, and they eventually came out with a version that had, I really don't know the order, but this has a wah and a volume feature. I disconnected the volume feature because it didn't really work. I didn't really like that part as much, but I like the wah. And it's very much, for me, in my love of King Crimson and the early Fripp sound, you have this octave and octave fuzz that could be so nasty and buzzsaw-like, but you add this wah, and it had a variable filter. Now, I don't know if this is variable Q, much like, Crybaby did Dunlop 30-something years later. I'm not saying they copied it, they just brought back this ability to notch through your sounds. And you have your octave fuzz or just your fuzz. This is a switch for that. So when we were doing Pretty Pain, I remember we just cranked this thing up, threw the octave on, notched the wah up, which creates its own movement. So your high octaves don't always get out. So you actually have a little more, texture and movement in the sound. I'm pretty sure I had this plugged in. I know I had it plugged in. I know I was auditioning a sound with this on. I don't know if this was on with the final parts. And when I'm talking about, there's these really high soaring parts that kind of, I don't know if you heard that, but I did. Those are the cats apparently doing cat things. That would come through the choruses. It comes through the choruses on Pretty Pain. So when I was capturing this a little later, and I put that little video up having fun, which I realize now I played that completely wrong. The song Starless from King Crimson, which I just reacquainted myself with, so maybe we'll do something on that soon. I was playing, after I did the capture, and I kind of fired this up and played the notes in the end, the part in Pretty Pain, as well as listening to the Ballet to Boxer record real quick to kind of hear it. There's a difference, and it doesn't mean one's better or worse, but this has a thing that I guess allowed that part to do what it do and sit the way it did and work with the vocal. And Fuzz in general has that beauty. Sometimes you get it not to step on things, even though it could be considered an aggressive sound or thick, it hangs out. In the quad Cortex, I built my rig when I first got it. Meaning my rig, a rig that I would really love to play through and have played through something similar. And I found an amazing capture of a 65 Deluxe Reverb, which I will tag the person who capture that is on the Cortex Cloud, as well as a capture of a Selmer. Now, I never had the chance to tour with a Selmer or even own one. I did get to use my friend JJ's when making a record. I love that amp. There's just so many cool records you could think about that has it on it. And I kind of, if I didn't have the Selmer, I would probably have an AC30 in there for a double guitar rig. Some of my stereo rigs have been, Fender Pro Reverb with an AC15. Sometimes I had a small Pro Junior with it. One time I think I had the Pro Reverb with the Deluxe Reverb at the same time. Just mix it up. We never had a lack of amps around us, and Jimmy has such an amazing taste in amps and ear for them, and I learned so much just, trying to approach the guitar the way I like to melodically and maybe go up high, but then learning all the other things I really needed to know. Like, if you're gonna play notes up there, is the amp gonna be like hurting people's ears? Is it putting out weird frequencies? Is it stepping on the vocal frequencies that are needed? How can we make things work together? And he has such an amazing ear for that. So it helped me really understand how to carve and develop sound. So depending on what songs we're talking about, which records, it could be anything from his AC30, which is unbelievable sounding amp, to my Pro Reverb definitely made it on a lot of tracks. The Deluxe Reverbs would make it. Ballet to Boxer was an interesting choice of amps because I think Pretty Pain, I might have been using the same Black Star I was touring with, which was at times consistent with some of the stuff. I remember when we did Mercy, that was also my live rig. A lot of times it was our live rigs, and they were definitely loved and cared for, but they were also worked and rode heavy on the road. So I said road twice, back and back. But I also think that's part of us being comfortable with the sounds. I did, however, once play a setup that had nothing to do with what I ever played live. I had zero experience with 335s. And pretty much the AC32 wasn't something I was really super familiar with. And when we were recording Devil, we were just trying to find that sound, and Jimmy's just like, here, do this, use this. It's like, all right. And it was awesome. The 335 through an AC30 through a few pedals, and it was singing. It kind of pushed me into playing the part very much differently than I probably was playing it, because the guitar just wouldn't stop sustaining every note. It was like having an EBO, and it was just alive and just went on the ride. Probably gonna cut this out and use it for a video about that, or maybe I won't cut it out, and maybe I'm just telling you now that if this video is kind of fun, and it might not be as in depth, but just to comparing those two parts, we could do it again. And if you watched this and you watched all of this, thank you. I'm not even sure why. It just happened. I felt like talking about this stuff and doing it. Yeah, well, it's up and down, so I guess it's only going to be on Instagram for now. Maybe if I flip the camera in the future, we could put this on YouTube. Now, if there's any interest to anybody that's acquainted with me on these socials, and this stuff is cool and you want to know about it, or it's interesting, or it helps come up with new ideas for your own creative journey. I assume most of the people I am connected with on something like social media, some way or another, we're connected to music for the most part, or creativity in general. And I want to learn what you do too. So let's maybe change the current and change the vibe of what is happening. It's not anything directly that's happening, or anything directly happening right now or in any particular place, but sometimes social media is incredibly informative and celebratory. Like when we see people we care about that we actually directly know, or people that we enjoy, I guess peeping in on their existence, some really happy stuff is shared, some really wonderful stuff, sometimes really heartfelt stuff. And just to be able to connect to that vibration, if it's sharing in somebody's excitement about something that's great happening in their life, or even sometimes when people have to share some sort of sadness, and maybe it throws them a little more love in that moment. This is a beautiful thing that was created, somehow connecting people that maybe have never met in person, but built such a rapport on these screens. At the same time, it's lunacy. It could be chaotic. It could be the wrong message. It could, quite frankly, it can mess with our heads once in a while. So maybe we could all try to put a little bit of human experience, truth, and what we're just feeling in a way. Like maybe if we just popped into maybe some of us just walked into the same music store, and I'm looking at this fuzz pedal, and you're like, what do you do with that? And we just talk about the fuzz pedal. We might not even know each other that well, but we know we have an interest in something like this, and we just are genuine in that moment as people. And yeah, that could be good for all of us. And if not, maybe it's just fun talking about fuzz pedals. Anyway, I've gone on too long, and definitely on the deep end now. It's kind of where I end up all the time. And maybe I'll do this again. Hope everyone has a wonderful, whatever day it is. I know it's late on a Wednesday where I am, which means there's other parts of the world where you might be enjoying Thursday. So let me know how the future looks.